Hello and welcome to another AI Reality Bytes with me, Amanda Prochaska. I've had the lovely opportunity of meeting with so many people over the last about 2 months heading into the spring conference season, being able to present on AI. And one of the common questions that I've been getting from all of you during these conferences is, how do I lead a team who's already really nervous about AI and what AI is going to bring? So I have 4 tips for you today around how to effectively lead your team into the AI era. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so there's a lot of fear out there, not only from leaders, but from your teams. Because we're heading into what I consider a new frontier. And when I was little, I would always imagine myself as being like kind of bummed that I wasn't one of those people that was crossing the ocean for the first time, or crossing the United States to see the mountains in the West for the very first time. And I just didn't think that in our lifetime we would be able to pioneer something ourselves. And guess what? I guess that prayer was answered in AI. It's a brand new frontier. It's going to impact work, but it's going to impact our day-to-day, our relationships, the skill sets that we need to bring to the table, and potentially the jobs that we are doing in the future. So how do you lead a team when you're already a little bit afraid of this, when you know your team is hearing the Oracle layoffs of the 30,000 or whatever is the latest in the news? How do you prepare your team and lead effectively? So we're going to go through 4 different tips today, and I'm going to run through all 4 really quickly. The first one is about authenticity, talking about the journey, not the destination, not only the destination. Being transparent about job changes and how to have those conversations. How to build community in this scenario where we kind of feel like we're figuring this out on our own, so let's combat that with some community. And how to define mission and measurement. And then the last thing that I'm just going to put a little star by is to start doing. And we'll talk about what that looks like here today too. Okay, so how do you lead effectively? I'm going to start with authenticity. And part of my book that I have coming out, it's all about leading change in the AI era. Authenticity, acting with authenticity, is the A in Alice, our methodology that we're showcasing in that book. But I will say authenticity is super important right now. Some leaders, if they don't have all of the answers, they just go quiet, which is not a good thing to do, because people are going to create their alternative realities, and usually that reality is worse off than it is. So being authentic in this moment is talking less about the destination and more about the journey. So what does the journey mean? That means things like, what should we start thinking about right now in anticipation of this new reality? What skill sets can we be building today to get us prepared for the future? Has anyone tried building an agent? What did you learn? How can we apply this to our day-to-day? And what were the risks or the problems that came up? And so we can be aware of that. So talking about the work that goes into it, how we can start preparing, what you're hearing on the horizon, what you're anticipating as a leader, all goes into acting with authenticity. And I like to say, talk about the journey versus the destination, especially now because we don't really know what the destination is going to look like, but we can be authentic in that, like to say, hey, we don't know where this is going. There's more questions than answers, but we do know that we should start going on a journey together to figure out what this looks like in the future. So each of you are going to have a different approach of doing that. It's going to have different flavors depending on your organization. Some organizations are way further along in the AI space, and some are just thinking about it. So apply this to your particular situation, and it's going to go a long way to kind of calm the nerves. There's actually scientific proof behind this. When someone starts freaking out and starts getting really scared about something, it's called going limbic, and it's when your stress response and your amygdala in your brain starts going all kind of crazy. I know that's super scientific, but that's basically what happens, and you can't logic a person out of that state. So the best thing to do is listen and to understand. But here's the thing that's super cool about authenticity. If your team starts trusting you and trusting what you're talking about in the journey and trusting that you're being authentic, the amygdala in your brain actually starts to shrink, which means the likelihood or the magnitude of your stress response can be diminished. So there's a literal physical response in the brain to being authentic and building that trust with your team. Super cool stuff, isn't it? Okay, so that's number one. Number two, and I see this happening a lot, is that leaders are they're either saying everyone's going to lose their jobs, which is one extreme. And then the other extreme is they're just not saying anything because they really don't know. And I think both are equally bad. So if you're in that camp of like, hey, I'm not going to say anything because I don't know, I would put you right up against those leaders that are saying that everyone's going to lose their jobs. So what do you do instead? Especially because you know your team is concerned about it. They're already hearing about it in the news. So you do not want to be silent on this topic. Instead, start talking about the realities of what we can learn maybe from history. You can start also talking about the skill sets that might need to be built up as we move forward. So I always like to use the story of the horse-drawn carriage to the Model T, the car, however you want to say it, early on, and start thinking about what happened in that situation. So if you were a horse-drawn carriage driver, did you have a job for very much longer? Or did those people start paving roads? Did they start being a mechanic, an engine mechanic? Did they start painting cars? Like there are all kinds of new jobs that were created because of that transition. And I feel like this is potentially very similar. So as a leader, can you start sharing stories like that to have people start pondering about, okay, well, we might not lose our jobs, but our jobs might look very different in the future. So if I can anticipate what that looks like, what kind of skills should I be building today? And maybe you start investing in your team in those ways, having different types of training opportunities for your team members. So you're investing in them to make sure that you're having those conversations about, we don't really know what the jobs are going to look like, but we can learn from history and we can anticipate that we're going to probably need to build new skill sets moving forward, and let's go ahead and start doing that. Most of the time when we're consulting our clients at Wonder Services, we're talking about building soft skills, because as more and more moves into the AI era, more technical or technology-enabled transactions and relationships are going to happen. And I firmly believe there's going to be a huge void in personal interaction. So people that do personal interaction really, really well have higher IQ or EQ levels, then you can really stand out in the future. So things like being a trusted advisor, communicating, telling stories, building trust, being able to be a problem solver, understanding strategies and how to build them. All of those things go into what potentially might be needed in the future. So if I were to invest in any training this year, I would be looking at those soft skills and probably a little bit of project management and change management. We're all going to be going through probably a lot of projects and a lot of change here in the future. So that is how I would approach the job conversation. You don't want to be the one that's saying everyone's going to lose their jobs. You equally don't want to be the leader who says nothing. Okay, so again, using that authenticity, talking about the journey, talking about what we can anticipate today, and showing that you're investing in your team in more of that soft skill training to build up their EQ would go a very, very long way. Okay, the next one is community. So the worst thing that someone can feel when going through change is first that they're not heard. No one's listening to them. No one's recognizing their feelings or thoughts or questions. The second worst thing is for them to feel alone. And In reality today, and I think this is probably going to get worse as we proceed forward, a lot of people are feeling very lonely these days. And so if you're going into a situation like transitioning into the AI era, if people are already feeling A, afraid, and B, lonely, it's not a good thing to do. So what can you do to combat that? I would be looking at ways to bring in more community into your organization. So people have an open door, an open spot where they can ask their questions, whatever is on their mind, and maybe get some perspective along the way. This can be a mentorship circle. It can be an informal luncheon. Whatever that looks like to build a community. We've done things where we have optional 1-hour meetings that have no agenda that people can just come to and ask whatever's on their mind. And then we have advisors in the room that can help direct them or answer their questions or give them a perspective. It goes a long way. And what's really cool about those communities is, we always have a facilitator, but at a certain point, the other people who are participating in the community are starting to answer other people's questions or bring ideas to the table. So it's not just grievances, it's actually helping build the community and proceed forward. So it's not just on the leader's shoulders to lead that change, the team starts leading it and they start sharing perspectives and wins and maybe some losses along the way. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. So don't forget about the power of community. I would be enacting that today in little or bigger ways within your organization to combat the AI fear that is going on right now. Okay, the last thing that I see people missing all the time is, and I think this partly has to do with the pressure that's coming down from the top in organizations, but could be wrong on that, but it is rushing into finding an AI solution without a clear mission and without a clear measurement. So as people are experiencing change, something that grounds them is what we call the I in Alice, or inspiration. And it is all about inspiring others. So how do you do that? First of all, you have a clear mission. So what are you trying to accomplish? What are you not trying to accomplish? What story do you have around that? Why is that mission really important now? And what's not changing now? So all of that goes into setting a very clear mission. I always tell people that it's like setting a mantra for the organization or for the initiative that you have going on. So think about it short and sweet, concise, something like make purchasing easy. We were just at one of our customers and it was easy, compliant, and delightful with just 3 words. So everything that they were doing hinges on that particular mission. Then the second thing, for all those analyticals out there, we might have a few of them around. Measurements are really important. So if you say something like make purchasing easy, what are the 2-3 metrics that you are going to use to define what easy looks like? Okay. Many leaders rush right past this, but when you do that, you have no foundation to build upon. You can have the best community. You can have the most authentic conversations with people. But if people don't understand where they're going and how success is going to be measured, you're missing a critical piece of your foundation. So don't skip over this. And it can be very narrow on a project itself, or you could do this for your organization. But here's the key. Please don't make it a run-on sentence. No one needs that right now. They don't need more complexity in their life. Super simple, straightforward is the way to go here. So if you are feeling commas, semicolons, em dashes in your mission statement, it is too long. Okay? So think of something that's super memorable that people can walk away with, recite back to other people, share with their suppliers, their colleagues, etc. That is the way to go. Okay, so those are the 4 things that I would be doing right now as a leader. Now, the little star that I said at the very beginning, this is a very important footnote, but I would be remiss if I didn't bring it up. As a leader, you can do all 4 of those things, but where I would start more than anything else is to go build an agentic agent or an agentic AI solution. Okay, so go build your agent. A lot of organizations, a lot of leaders have not done the work yet to understand what this means and the power and the capability behind it. It's still theory for them. So it's super hard if you're working in theory when AI is very, very real today. You're going to have a disconnect. You're not going to be able to earn that trust. You're not going to understand how to talk about the job loss and the skills that need to be developed because you have not experienced it yet. So the major thing that I would be doing right now is taking time. It will only take maybe half of a day, if that. I've helped leaders build their first agent in a half an hour. Okay. It does not take a huge investment from you, but go build. Until you do that, it's theory. Once you build, it's reality, and you can start leading your team in the most effective ways through being authentic, talking about the journey, making sure that you're talking about the job impact, building those communities that are needed, and having a very clear mission and metric around it. You will be off to the races and supporting your team and hopefully reducing that fear level that is out there today. So with that said, I am Amanda Prochaska. I'm the Chief Wonder Officer and founder of Wonder Services. We love bringing AI Reality Bytes to you. So hit the like button and subscribe so we can bring this to even more people and that you don't miss out on the next video. With that said, thank you for being here. Have a great day. Cheers.